Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Really nishmasimi mirosi Rus Bas Mordechai. Shom should have an aliyah. Yesterday was a yard side. Yeah. Oh, let me move this over here just for a few minutes, then I'll move it back for the guest. Rapper G is in the house. Shalom Aleichem. In response, we have, you're G, you're Goodman, and you're Goldman. G, G, and G. Okay. In response to your remark the other day, there were more people on the screen the last few days in Chicago. I have one word for that. Shtus. It's my fault, he says. Your lack of properly communicating and marketing. I was there for a month. You'd think that the island would find out, but it's my fault because I didn't communicate and I didn't market it. And that's why in New York, when we spoke about it for 2 days, 48 hours, 770 people, or according to some 850 showed up. And in Chicago, after being there for a month, we had 7 people. Baruch Hashem. It's my fault. Okay? The shiur was publicized and promoted days before it was to take place. The venue large, in comparison, And, Rebelli, all the work you put into preparing the daf charts, pictures, last but not least, the characters. Even if I would travel out to far-off place like Whitefish, Montana for a weekend event, while they don't have locks, they do have good skiing with proper marketing that could be populated with more Jews. Great. We could do that. Lilo and Skokie, Illinois. Shkoyach. Next time we'll do a better job communicating. Moshe Zeret, he's learning Torah on a line to the Social Security office. Gevaldik. Who would think? Today it's cool to learn when you're in line, on the plane. Avi Minkov. First, just want to say how the Brooklyn shiur was an amazing Kiddush Shem Shamayim, and I hope you do it again very soon. Secondly, just want to say, Lzchus Yossi Klein's promo video. I am following daf after daf from the beginning of Yevamos. Hashtag Geschmack to learn the daf. Hashtag addicted. Avi Minkov, Monroe, New York. Monroe. Gevaldik. Could anybody tell me where this is? Because based on where the baby is situated, look at this. This doesn't. Oh, you don't. Aha. What country is this in? You see, it looks like in Russia or something. Shari Tzedek, right? They use that old thing from the 40s, but it's not. L'chayra. Hello, thank you for me. My son turned 3 daf old today. You hear that? 3 daf old. May we all continue to share Zechus together. Shout out to Yidi Grumbaum for getting me to join. I haven't missed a day since Tainus. Mordechai David Gover for finding the time to do daf even if business hours make it difficult. Nachi Grable for going strong with MDY. Mazel tov on your baby boy. Mazel tov. Woody Chewy and the Kale twins, we miss you. Oh, that's it for today. Rabbi Isai, we have a great sponsor today, but we're going to have to wait until the end. The Koil is sponsored Lzchus Shidduchim for his mishpacha. Parnasah chodesh le'nishmas harav Zechariah Shimon Wallstein Zechus by his kids. Parnasah chodesh as Zechus Ahron Hatzlacha and to you and the video editor Hatzlacha and continuation. I'm missing a shiur Lezechus nishmas Abraham Yitzchak ben Yamin. Parnasah chodesh Ahron Fraiman Lzchus continued parnasah siyadta dishmaya Hatzlacha their belly. Parnasah chodesh the Boyer family. Lili Nishmas, Rebbe Leo, Zechariah ben Rebbe Avraham Eli Weinberg, all of some dear friend of the family, suddenly passed away this Shabbos at the age of 59. By the Wolkenstein family, Imein Kemach in Torah, Imein Torah in Kemach. By the Lock and Lebovic families, Lakewood, New Jersey, because Torah is the best segulah. Parnasah chodesh, anonymously. Lili Nishmas, Chai Vas Yosef, Parnasah chodesh, anonymously. As HaKaras HaTov, to Hashem, as Zechus between the health and bracha. By Mo Landy, who's going to be here this Shabbos, Be'ezer Hashem. In honor of my son, Menachem, whose Hebrew birthday is tomorrow, may he grow up to be happy and a healthy kid. Amen. By the Stefansky family, for the Zechus that the Mater Asurim be merciful to Aaron Netanyahu ben Etya Hinda. Amen. Anonymously. Rabbi, so here it goes. In Zechus for Mando, that he should give nachas to all his family, including Rebelli. Are you laughing at your own sponsorship? It's not you. All right, you should go after the sponsor. We take sponsors for dogs, we said. Rabbi Yitzchak Zilberstein Paskind, that you could do so. I forgot. Let me go over here. Could you show this video with audio? You have audio? Let's try audio. Truth is, you don't really need audio. Just trying. Hold on. It's interesting. You have to plug stuff in? Oh, I hear it. Let's see what happens. Do you see my screen? No. You don't see the screen. How about now? Could you make it larger or not really? Hold on, let me make it larger. It's a real chalitza. Here we go. The real deal. That's the shoe. Now, I want to pause this for a second. Can I? Rabbi, ladies and gentlemen, I want to show you our very own Chalitza shoe. Made by our very own Yaakov Ayal. He's in charge of the merch. He's a very handy guy. This is what he does for a living. He makes leather goods. And this is literally, I held the real shoe in my hand. It's like stitch for stitch. I don't know if you can see all the stitches here. These are very long ritzuas, which we're going to be discussing later on in the Masechta. And here you have the holes in the back. And this happens to be a size 14, which is my size. If anybody wants to buy me a pair of shoes, size 14. No, I'm just kidding. Size 14. So if I ever need to put it on to demonstrate, it fits. I tried it on. Even has these little snaps here. It's unbelievable. So now that you see this shoe and everything about it, look at the video for a second. You see two elderly people like we discussed. It's second marriage. See those holes in the back? Varf. Throw it. And that's it. There's no spitting here, but they have the walker. You have all the... Okay. Just thought I would show that. It's here. We have it. Somebody sent it in. Yishkoyach. Why? Go find one of these for less. If a pair of shoes that you could buy hundreds of them and every store costs sometimes $1,000, so this is one of a kind. Azay it's supply and demand. Why not? There's a chiyuv to do chalitza. We discussed. Could they opt out of it and both say we're not going to get married and let's not do chalitza? But we spoke about it a little bit. There's a mitzvah to do chalitza, so you do it. All right. So now we are holding. I do want to point out yesterday. The fear, and it happens all the time. I make blatant mistakes, and I made a mistake in saying pshat in the Gemara. The Gemara was saying one or two, and I said that the pshat is that the kohen gadol can't marry more than one woman, only two, and Menachem Ateh pointed out Rashi doesn't say like that. So I didn't give up. It's not the same person, don't worry about it. But if your phone is on whatever, please put it on, just turn it off. Here, I found this unbelievable thing I want to show you. This is the Rambam Hilchas Yisuri Bia, Perik Yud Zayin, Halacha Yud Gimel, and he says like this: Ve'enoi noisei shtei nashim, a kohen gadol cannot marry two women. La'olam kacha shenemar isha achas v'lo shtayim. He learned our Gemara the way I learned it. So I was mechaven at least to the Rambam. I might have learned wrong pshat in the Gemara according to Rashi, but the Rambam learned like me, or I learned like the Rambam. So I'm not a complete fool. I felt really stupid during shiur. But at least he said that I found it also in the Meiri learning pshat in the Gemara. This is where he learns it. This is the Gemara, this is the Makar. Isha achas v'lishtayim, the Ravad says, but maybe he's only talking about Yom Kippur, but the bottom line is he learns from that. Okay, fine. Now we're holding Daf Nun Tes Amud Beis all the way in the bottom, 3 lines from the bottom. We're talking about the Braisa that says, Anusas atzmai, Mefutas atzmai, if a person violates a woman, a kohen gadol violates a woman, could he marry her or not? So he shouldn't marry her. Im nasa nasui, but if he does marry her, it seems like from the lashon he can remain married. Amar Avun Amar Rav, umaitzi beget, not so fast. You must divorce her. So wait a minute. If you must divorce her, what does it mean? You're nasui. You can be married. You can't be married. You have to divorce her. So who said? According to Ravuna, who said that you must divorce her? Rav, the famous Rav. And what does it mean? Loimar, shemishalim knas b'mefuta. The halacha is, right, the Torah, pasuk in the Torah, if somebody's ma'anis or mefata, he has to pay 50 kesef, 50 shekel. So since he married her, he gets out of that knas. Because it says, by a mefuta, not by a ma'anis, by ma'anis, no matter what, he has to pay 50 shekel. But by mefuta, he convinced her. So in that case, if he marries her, he doesn't have to pay the 50 shekel. Since he married her, shalom, since he married her, he gets out of the 50. As Tais is a very interesting question. What does he gain by marrying her? If he marries her, he doesn't have to give her 50 shekel. But guess what he has to give her? A ksuba. It's the same amount. 50 shekel, 200 zuz, same thing. So he didn't gain anything. So Tais has different tiruts in what he gains. Okay, but it's an interesting question. Azal Rav Gviya mebei kasal amor l'shmaita kamei Rav Ashi. So Rav Gviya went and said this over to Rav Ashi. Omar lei v'harav. Okay, again. Think about it. Rav Huna said in the name of Rav. Says Rav Ashi, v'harav. Rav himself says something else. A kohen gadol should not marry a woman who's above 12 and a half years old. Who should he marry? Somebody that's between 12 and 12 and a half. And he should not marry umukas eitz. If she lost her psulim from some other object, lo yisa. V'im nasa nasui. So here it says, if he gets married to her, he can remain married. Alma soifa liyos begeres tachtav. And now the Gemara goes into the reasoning, the svara. What's the reason? Because obviously, if a kohen gadol gets married to a nara who's 12 years old, and when she turns 12 and a half, he doesn't have to divorce her. Soifa liyos mukaseitz tachtav. At the end of the day, the woman is going to become a begeres. The woman is going to lose her psulim. So he doesn't have to divorce her. And he doesn't divorce her. So that's the reason why if he was over and he married such a woman to begin with, he's allowed to keep her after the fact. So in Mela, when the Gemara says, when the Brisa says, Im nasa nasui, it seems like the point of nasa nasui is that you remain married, not that you have to divorce her. Ravuna said you have to divorce her. Em nasa nasui means that you don't have to pay a knas. Over here you see that em nasa nasui means you remain married because it fits into the whole logic. Since you can remain married to her anyway, so if you married her, you remain married to her. So what does remain married to her mean? Not that you divorce her, that you remain married. So why are you telling me a different pshat in Rav? Kasha. It's a good kasha. Anusas chaver, mavudis chaver leisa. A kohen gadol should not marry his friend's anusa. In other words, a woman who doesn't have psulim. Vim nasa, Rebbe Eliezer Yaakov vaymer avlad chala. Machlokes. Chamayrim avlad kasha. If he married his friend's anusa, in other words, somebody else, she lost her psulim to somebody else. So according to Rebbe Eliezer Yaakov, the son is a chalal. Chamayrim avlad kasha. Amar Rav Amar Rav. Halacha Rebbe Eliezer Yaakov. That what the vlad is a chalal. And we say always, halacha Rebbe Eliezer Yaakov, that what? Kavanaki. Rebbe Eliezer Yaakov, he knows what he's talking about, he's always right. V'chein Amar Rebbe Gidol Amar Rav, halacha Rebbe Eliezer Yaakov, that what? Kohen gadol who marries a non-psula, the kid is a chalal. Iged Amri Amar Rav, Huna Amar Rav, my time with Rebbe Eliezer Yaakov, what is the whole reason of Rebbe Eliezer Yaakov? So halacha Rebbe Eliezer, as we learned yesterday, Hani Abba Pnuya, Asa Zayna, remember like the top of Nuntes Amud Beis, two singles have relation. He made her a zayna, and a zayna is no good for any kohen. It's very interesting. I heard once. Maybe I shouldn't even say it. Whatever. It's geshmak to think about it. Somebody was telling me that in Israel, during certain chasanas, the rabbanim took upon themselves this idea that panei abala pnuya is a zayna. It's a bad thing, but it's not a eishasish. If you have to think about what's worse, eishasish or panei abala pnuya, eishasish is much worse. So they purposely ruin some. You heard about this? In kibbutz? Okay, certain people that they're scared and afraid that eventually there's going to be a problem with eishasish, so they rather that the couple not be over on eishasish, then it's better that they should be a panei abala pnuya than eishasish. So they ruin the kiddushin at the chuppah. They take pasalaydim, they do something on purpose. Kach shamati, I don't know, again, maybe it's like that 97 in the army, and then the guy said it's impossible, you can't get 100, and the rest, could be just rumor, I don't know. My time of the Rebbe Eliezer ben Yaakov, Sava like Rebbe Eliezer. Says the Gemara, we have a problem. If Rebbe Eliezer ben Yaakov, who's the halach is always like him, Kavanaki, holds like Rebbe Eliezer, then what? That's the worst that it could be, right? The halach is always like him. Kav, we said, is 102. We don't pass him like Rebbe Eliezer that a panei abala pnuya is a zayna. It's not even a zayna. So how could Rebbe Eliezer ben Yaakov go together with Rebbe Eliezer when the halach is not like Rebbe Eliezer and the halach is always like Rebbe Eliezer ben Yaakov? Kashya. Rav Ashi Omar, this Kohen Gadol who marries his friend's anusa, in other words, a woman that doesn't have psulim, whether or not the child is a chalal, very interesting. Oh, David is not here today. I wanted to do the math myself, but I realized that I'm a Panovich graduate and I don't know what I'm doing. I want to find out what are the chances that what happened to me yesterday will happen again in somebody's lifetime. And that is, we learned that if you read in the parsha of that week what you learned during the week, it's a big thing. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is hugging you, the whole thing. What are the chances that when you learn that day, 30 minutes later is in the parsha and you get the aliyah after you give the shiur? So yesterday, v'hu b'psulei yikach, we learned that pasuk yesterday, and I got the aliyah. Well, I demanded the aliyah. I only get aliyahs here every 3-4 months, whatever. But I had yard side yesterday, so I told the guy I have yard side. He gave me the aliyah. V'hu b'psulei yikach. Right after we learned it, I don't know what are the chances that, first of all, what you learn is in the parsha. Second of all, that's in the parsha, in the first part of the parsha until Sheni, and that it's within the aliyah. I don't know if it ever happens. What? It's crazy.
And it comes up on the landing.
What?
And it's on the landing.
It's on a landing. It has to be on a Monday or a Thursday, and it's only within Sheni, and it's within the Sheni, but the third part of Sheni, the aliyah for Yisrael, yeah.
Sometimes on the sofa, and I even write it the same day.
So you're saying it's even better. Well, you can control that. He says he's a sofer, and that he writes the pasuk that he learns that same day that he learned it. Okay, cool. You just took the wind out of my sails. Gishmak. Shkoyach. So we have to do the same mathematician that's going to figure it out for me will figure it out for you. No, you could do a search. I'll just look what's in 7.5 years on the yard side. Okay, anyway, fine. Zog the Gemara. So let's take a look at this pasuk. First of all, this is the pasuk, and we're talking about this one over here. You see on the screen, Avrami, here, I don't know if you. Oh, here we go. We have a film. We have to give shkoyach to Avrami. Gershon is not here, but either way, it's a lot better than what we had when I was on the road. So, you see, it says over here in green, he should take a psula. The following pasuk says, don't make your kids chalalim. Chalalim means that they're pasul lekahuna, and l'chayra v'leichal is going on what it says above it. Now, what does it say above? It says a number of things. The beginning of the pasuk says, almano grusha chalala zayna. These women, almana, grusha, zayna. And then it says, he should take a psula. And if he doesn't take a psula, also a bad thing. But is it in the same category as the almana? So says the Gemara. Rebbe Eliezer ben Yaakov says, almana, grusha, chalal, zayna, that if you don't take a psula, if a kohen gadol doesn't marry a psula, he takes the anusa of his friend, so she's not a psula. So he's over on the next pasuk tesvav v'leichal zaray. V'rabanan. So akulu usiv v'leichal zaray ba'amav akulu. The pasuk tesvav is on the whole pasuk Yudalid. Everything on pasuk Yudalid. What if you over on that pasuk? Anything, even the psulim part, chala. V'rabanan, huh? I skipped. We go back. My time to realize over there. No. Did I skip? Efozim. I didn't say that? Okay. Ravashi says, very good. Ravashi says the machlokes is, I jumped into my story. This, you see it's in green, I try to make it as a positive. V'lo yichal zar is a negative. Marry a psula is a positive. You should do this. Now, if you don't do it, the Torah doesn't say what happens if you don't do it, but we understand, we infer from the fact that the Torah says you should marry a psula. So if you don't marry a psula, you're over an asay. But you're over on a positive commandment, on an asay. So that's machlokes. Rebbe Elazar Yaakov says it applies also to a psula. You don't get the pasuk of lo yichal zar ba'amav if you're over on ki im psula me'amav yikach isha. My time to Rebbe Elazar Yaakov. The chsiv amaru grusha v'chal zoyna say lo yikach. This whole pasuk ki im psula me'amav yikach. Uchsiv, and right afterwards it says lo yichal zar ba'amav akulu. The pasuk lo yichal zar ba'amav. The loisase that avera goes even on that say. Rabbanon eila hifsik inyan. Go back to the chart. You'll see that it says es eila. So first it says amano grush v'chala zayna es eila lo yikach, and then it says v'lo yichal zar ba'amav. That is going on the first part of the pasuk, not to marry a divorcee, not to marry a widow. Yaakov Amar eila limudei nida. That if a kohen gadol has a child with a nida, ben nida, not a chalal. So Eila is not dividing the pasuk; it's one long pasuk. Almana, grusha, chalala, psula. And if he's over in any of that, then v'lo yichal zar ba'amav, if the child is a chalal, like Rebbe Elazar Yaakov. Kiman azlo desanya meve'ela ato oisa chalal ve'ato oisa chalal menida. This halacha that is just mentioned, that a child from a nida is not considered a chalal, even though it's a karas. We just said. Says the Gemara, you see Eila. Why is Eila stuck in the middle of the pasuk? If v'lo yichal zar goes on the entire pasuk Yudalid, so, and according to Rebbe Yaakov Eila, it's on everything. So it should say like this. It should say ki imsu ma'am of yikach isha almano grusha say lo yikach, and it should say it's Eila all the way at the end. Kashyo. So check this out over here. This is a list of all. You know what? I shouldn't be doing this. Why don't you tell me? I have to go like this. Much better. So these are the 7 krivim that a kohen gadol could be mitama to. A father, mother, wife, son, daughter, brother, and a sister. Also in this week's parasha, all the way in the beginning of this week's parasha. So, who's this achaisai, all the way at the bottom? What kind of sister? Says the Gemara, so we have like this. Here, it's not so confusing. We have a sister who's a begeres. She's already 12 and a half years old. Is a kohen allowed to be matama to her? According to everybody, 100%. What about she's anusa? She lost her psulim to somebody? According to everybody, loy matama. What about a mukaseitz? She lost psulim, not naturally, through some side thing. Only according to Reb Shimon, the kohen cannot be matama. According to everybody else, Reb Meir, Reb Yehuda, and Reb Yosi, yes. And then finally we have an arusa. That's what we were discussing the second, an arusa. Because here's the problem. The pasuk says, here. The kohen could be metama to a sister who's a psula, who's close to him, who is never with a man. So Shailas, what does that mean? Is an arusa, a sister that had kiddushin and erison, is she considered never with a man? On the one hand, she's engaged. She's arusa. So, says the Gemara, she's not considered that she's with someone. You could be mitamater. You cannot. Anusa mafuta. Let's go back to this chart, so maybe there's some sort of clarity here. Very simple. The first one. Begeres, green. She's begeres, everybody agrees you could be mitama. Ahanusa, everybody agrees you can't be mitama. The big machlokes is in arusa and a little bit in mukaseit. Okay. Anusa mafuta, divrei ei mitamala. She's not a psula. The pasuk says, psula, lehoiselish. She was with a man. She's not a psula. And the story, no tuma. You cannot go to the levaya. Umukaseit. 1 out of 4, because we have 4 mandamrim here. You see in the bottom, you see the other 4. Reb Meir, Reb Yehuda, Reb Yosi, Reb Shimon. Reb Shimon comes out of his set. He's together with Reb Yosi on the bottom, on Arusa, and he says his own halach. He argues on everybody. Mukaseit you cannot be mitama. Why? Because he holds that a kohen gadol cannot be with a mukaseit. Okay, he argues on what we were talking yesterday, for the most part. Kohen gadol cannot marry a mukaseit. So if he can't marry a mukaseit, he shouldn't be mitamater either. Shimon says that the person that he could be mitama to is somebody that he can marry. If he can't marry her, he can't be mitama to her. Even a sister. So a sister who is a mukaseit, she lost her psulim, but not from a man. Can't go to the levaya. Ubegeres mitamala divrei kol adam. So, Ubegeres, she has psulim. She doesn't have all her psulim like a ketana, like a naira, because her body physically changed. That he could go to levaya, he could become tummy to her. Everybody agrees. What?
He can't marry. He can't be tummy to a mukaseit because he can't marry her. He can't marry her sister anyway.
No, I thought you were going to ask me about a begeres. Okay, not that part. You're right, not that part. We're talking about what creates a problem in the suin in terms of psulim, not in terms of erva. The fact that you can't marry your sister is a raya. It's nothing to do. We're talking about what constitutes a psula. Again, the Torah says, what levaya could he go to? To psula. What constitutes psulim? Is the mukaseit a psula or not? She physically doesn't have psulim, but not because of anything just happened. So could he go to levaya or not? Well, let's see. Could he marry her? If he can't marry her, that means she's not a psula. If she's not a psula, he can't go to levaya. That's what he's saying. Not he can't marry her because it's his sister or his mother or whatever. We're talking about in terms of psula. Says the Gemara, we said that. Everybody agrees that you could be metama. Some even write here divrei akol because it's a very interesting lesson. Divrei kol adam. Every human being agrees that a begeres you could. My time there may review though. Darshi hachi. So listen, I don't know. I tried something here. Where are we? Here. This is how Ramei Rabbi Yehuda learned this pasuk. Every word. There's 4 drashas here, as you can see. From V'lachoise Apsula, there's 1 drasha. Hakroiva is 1 drasha. Elav is another drasha. And Leihoisa is the 4th drasha. If I can read it, it says Lachoise Apsula is to exclude an anusa. She's not a psula. If she was violated, mefuta, no. Hakroiva, what does it say here? Arusa. That he could go to the levaya of an arusa. Elav is a begeres. And it comes to say that a mukas eats. Fine. Now, if you look at the next one, they agree on some stuff. They add on the top. Instead of just anusa mafuta. Rabbi Yosef and Shimon say, and mukaseitz, I also learned from there. You could go. Hakroiva is arusa, but grusha, different. Elav, they agree. They both learn. If you go back here, Elav, you see nothing changes on the Elav. Elav is begeres, and Ashalei Haisalish is arusa. They learn arusa from where they learn. Hakroiv is arusa. They learn from Ashalei Haisalish. That's now. So that's the difference in the machlokes. My time the Rebbe Yehuda, the Darsh Yachi. So now let's see inside. In this pasuk, what do you do with the words psula? Prat. Someone that's not a psula, like who? Prat lanuso mefuta. Yachal shani moitzi af mukaseitz. Maybe I'll say a mukaseitz he cannot marry, like Reb Shimon. That she lost a psulim from a man. This is not from a man. Now, this is very interesting. I would think that she's married. She's somewhat, this kiddushin, whatever that is, it's a quasi-marriage. So maybe she can't go to her levaya. She's considered that she was with another man. L'rabbi zarusa, from the word akroiva, it says you could go to such a levaya. A love, l'rabbi zabegeres. Okay, we're not going to go into Taisvus. Fine. From the word Elav comes to, and that both everybody agrees that this word Elav comes to say that a sister who's a begeres, who's 12 and a half, 13 years old, who lost some of her psulim, he could go to Levi. It could be mitam. Says Gemara Lama Likra, Vamar Meir Besula Afilu Mixas Psula Mashma. Does anybody remember Meir? Well, if you don't, this is Meir from yesterday. Because it says Bifsuleh, so he starts off. Besula means even some of the psulim. So Meir already learns that the word psula afilu mixes psula mashma. So why do I need a special? And look what it says in parentheses from yesterday. I didn't change anything today. Afilu mixas, meaning a begeres, yes, he could marry a begeres, and therefore he could go to the levaya of a begeres because she has psulim. She has 90% of her psulim. Says the Gemara. What's hasam? This is from Ma'anas. So he violated a girl. But over there it says Nara Besula. That means that a Besula is a Naira. So Naira. I would think that a Begeris is not included because when the Torah says Besula, it's similar to the psula of a anusa, and over there we know for a fact it's a naira. The Torah says naira psula, so they go together hand in hand. L'chayra, a psula means no. By us, more than a naira, older than a naira is also okay. How did they learn? So, like I showed you before, the difference between them and Remeir and Rebuda is that they add one more thing called mukaseitz. Before Remeir says a mukaseitz you could get married to, and now they're saying no, a mukaseitz is not a psula. So if she's not a psula, you can't go to her levaya. I don't care how it happened. So they stick in anusa, mefuda, and the mukaseitz. They stick in that extra mukaseitz, changes everything. Yeah. No, that's something else. Yeah, another thing. But I'm saying in the top part. Look, want to see? Look. Remeir and under the green. What does Remeir and Yehuda learn? A psula does not include an anus and a mafuta. Look at it. Keep on looking. What changed? Mukaseitz. They add the mukaseitz to lachois psula. Okay. Prat la anusa mafuta mukaseitz. Asher lo yhoisa prat la arusa. Asher lo yhoisa on the bottom is an arusa no good. That's considered being married. Not like Remeir holds. Hakroiva l'rabbis, that you could go to the levaya of an arusa. No. Asher lo yhoisa, you can't go to her levaya. She's considered she was married to a man. Hakroiva l'rabbis arusa is gar. Oh, Hakroiva. So what do they do, Hakroiva? L'rabbis arusa is garsha. What if she was engaged and divorced or engaged and her husband died? Then the Kohen Gadol could go to her levaya because she never consummated the marriage, and that's okay. Says the Gemara, Elov, the Rabbi says that we had, everybody agrees that the word Elov comes to say that if his sister is 12 and a half years old, 25 years old, he can still go to the Levaya. Hakroiva, the Rabbi's Arusa, Shinizgarsha. You're telling me that the word Hakroiva is going to say Arusa, Shinizgarsha, Sam Amud Beis, Amar Reb Shimon, Ruy L'Kohen Gadol Mitamala, Shem Ruy L'Kohen Gadol Ein Mitamala. Even a Hediyot, Kohen Hediyot can't marry a Grusha. We just turned to Sam Amud Beis, sponsored by Moshe Horn in honor of the Gold Star Moti Donut. Oh, I forgot to say, I have to say this, Barabim. I got my suit, my custom suit, not from Ed Kinsbursky, although he's a great guy. I kept on, because on the turning of the Daf, it said Ed Kinsbursky. It's Moshe Kinsbursky, right? What are you holding your head over there? Because now everybody's calling up Ed Kinsbursky for suits, custom suits. It's the wrong guy, Moshe Kinsbursky. And he didn't even say anything. He didn't say, it was me, Shkoyach Moshe. He saved me. I don't know if you guys know the story. I'm in Chicago. 5 minutes before Shabbos, I gave a shiur, 2 minutes before Shabbos, run home, try to get dressed. I go to my closet, no suits. Oh, I brought all my suits to the cleaners because I wanted to bring them to Israel, nice and dry clean before, because I don't want to ruin my suit here. Seriously, I had to get a brand new jacket, my nice blue jacket that I wore for shiur every day. I gave it to the cleaners one time, shiny. So anyway, I'll show you my new. Fine. Then I realized that I have Moshe Kinsbursky's brand new MDY suit. And I opened it up, showed Oilon, the whole thing, MDY. Fine. Not as cool as Avi's. He has his own picture in there. His Baldwin picture. It's a secret? The show and tell. Nobody heard, nobody knows. Erase. Zog the Gemara. Whoa, we only have 8 minutes. No stories now. Says the Gemara, you're right. Shani Hasan, the Rabbi Rahman, Kroiva. Great question. She's divorced and he shouldn't marry her. Yeah, but the Torah says he could marry her. Kroiva. The word hakroiva says he could. Rabbi. You should also use the hakroiva to say mukaseit. Kroiva achas v'lo shtayim. Similar to that mess up that I did yesterday. You can learn one thing from kroiva. One woman, not two. In other words, I'm learning that he could marry a divorcee from Erison, but it doesn't come to include a mukaseit. Says the Gemara, my Reisa, you have two options. You go this way, to the right, to the left. Why do you knock out mukaseit? What happened? Says the Gemara, because something changed in her body. This woman who's divorced from her engagement, it makes a lot more sense to say you could go to the funeral of a woman that nothing changed physically in her body, which is a divorcee from Erison. Now, if you go back over here, if I can find it, in Mukaseitz, who's the only one that says a Kohen Gadol should not go to the funeral? Reb Shimon. What happened? He had a partner. Rabbi Yosef and Reb Shimon go together on the bottom, on the last line, and then he left his partner when it comes to Mukaseitz. Why? His partner, Rabbi Yossi, is going to hold like everybody else, like Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda. The Mukaseit, a Kohen Gadol, could go to the funeral, could be Mitama. So let's go back here, if I can find it. Yeah. So if you look over here, Asher lo yahaisa ish tells me that a mukaseit is okay. Says the Gemara, Vahapikte. Let's go to his chart. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon in this chart, what do they do with the Asher lo yahaisa ish? Look underneath it. It says Arusa. That Arusa, he should not go to the funeral. So how are you telling me Asher lo yahaisa ish is for mukaseit? He already used it up for Arusa. Can't say it's for mukaseit. Says the Gemara, you're right. Let's go to the next chart. Check this out, Rabbi Say. Boom. It's two different words. So from the loyhoisa I learn Arusa. She was never with a man. She's engaged to a man. Don't go to her funeral. Leish. It happened through a man. She lost her psulim from a man? No. This is from an eight, not from a man. Elav. So it's a miut. Only from an ish. But if it happens from a mukaseitz, he's maskim. Oh, you see, I don't know if you noticed, on top it says Rabbi Yossi. Let's go back to the other chart. It's Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Shimon. This is a new chart. This is a special chart for Rabbi Yossi. He argues with Rabbi Shimon. Because Rabbi Shimon is the one that says mukaseitz. He's the only one that says mukaseitz. Cannot go to the funeral. But has Rabbi Yossi know that you could go to the funeral? Ish v'loi mukaseitz. It's a reboot. Elav, the rabbis of Begeres. We said that the word Elav tells me that he could go to the funeral of Begeres. V'amar Rabbi Shimon, besula shlema mashma. Does anybody remember that one? Okay, here we go. Yesterday also. Besula. That they start off, Rabbi Elazar and Shimon start off that the word psula means complete psulim. And therefore Begeres, not. Begeres lost 10%, let's say. Oh, so how you telling me? Says Gemara, time of the day, nami hasa mahacha. He doesn't learn the word besula, that besulim means 100%. How does he know besulim means 100%? The darshachi mid the elav l'rabbis habegeres. Since the word elav, go back to this thing. You see, it says elav in purple. It means even a begeres michlada besula shlema mashma. Why does the Torah have to say? Why does the Torah have to say you can go to the funeral of a begeres? I need a special word. Elav, you go to the funeral of a begeres. Because the Torah says psula. And a begeres is not a psula. Therefore, the Torah has to say you could go to the funeral elav. Without the word elav, I would say she's not a psula. So you see from the word psula, not the word psula, the combination of psula with elav, I see that what the meaning behind psula means. Psula means 100%. Any person that's not 100% psula, because she grew up, her body changed physically, she lost some of her psulim, don't go to the levaya. But then the pasuk says no, elav, you could go to the levaya. Okay, anyway, Zok the Gemara. Getting close to Lag Ba'omer. Well, the whole Reb Shimon, when we say Reb Shimon, on top of this chart, Reb Shimon, it's Reb Shimon Ba'Yochai. But okay. Shimon Ba'Yochai. Oh boy. Shachris at 8:10 today. What is going on here? Says Reb Shimon Ba'Yochai that if you have a Giyayres that's less than 3 years old, she can marry a Kohen. You could keep alive all the women from Midian who weren't with a man. So how do you know it's 3 years old? We'll see in a second. Very Pinchas is a Kohen. Who's Pinchas? The grandson of Aaron, Lazar ben Aaron a Kohen. So, anyway, real quickly, I heard once, unbelievable thing, that Moshe Rabbeinu once asked HaKadosh Baruch Hu for more years, give me the years of all the Meisei Midbar, you took away their years, add it to my life. Hashem said, no, you're not Maver al Midaisa by Mei Meriva, you don't get them. But Pinchas, who was embarrassed, he was Mevuza, they called him your forefather did Avodah Zarah, Mefatim Agolim, Avodah Zarah, and he was quiet. He didn't answer back when they were Mevayshim. What was he Zaycha? To live forever. Eliyahu Navi, Pinchas. Says the Gemara, very Pinchas. So you see that you could marry a girl, a Giyayres that's less than 3 years old, because Moshe Rabbeinu said you keep them, and it included Pinchas. V'Rabbanan, no, it didn't mean you can marry them. La'avadim l'shvachas. He meant to say that you could keep them as slaves. The pasuk doesn't say how old they were. It just says you could keep them. So even where do you know an age? How do you know Bashal Sham Yemechad? We have a classic contradiction. Any woman that was with a man, you have to kill for Midian. But if she wasn't with a man, you could be Mikayim. It seems like only women, but children, it doesn't matter if they were with a man or not, you could keep them alive. But then it says in the pasuk, by the way, we're coming up to one of the most famous Gemaras, classic Gemaras that heretics love. It says, children that weren't with a man, then you could keep them alive. So which one is it? It seems like all children you can keep alive, and then it says only children that weren't with a man. No, it's not if they were with a man or not. If they could be with a man, any kid that's under 3 years old, keep alive. The pasuk is only saying roi, not physically yes or no. Who told you? Since there's a contradiction in the psukim, like we explained before, so we have to explain that the pasuk is not saying physically with another man. They could be with another man. So any kid under 3 could be with a kohen. Says the Gemara Meno Yadi. But how do we know if a woman was with a man, if she's a psul or not? Omer Avuna bar Bizna, Omer Rav Shimon Chasido, Havirim lefnei hatzitz. The kohen gadol used to wear this on his forehead, a tzitz, a golden plate. Machlokes if it says kodesh l'shem like this, or like that, underneath. But it had magic powers. I shouldn't say magic, but powers. And they would bring these women, these midyanim in front of it. If her face turned yellow, then we know that she's over 3 years old. Okay? There's no social security, no birth certificates. So how do you know a kid is 3 or not 3? When you ask her, bring in front of the tzitz. Omer Rav Nachman, similar avera, droikoin. When people do averas, they turn a little bit in the color, they turn yellow. These women also turned yellow because they were oiva avera, they tried to seduce the Jews. So that's what they got. If she doesn't turn, if she's not yellow, then she's less than 3. Similar avera is droikoin. Again, we're running out of time. But the famous story of Pelegesh Begiva, they did a terrible thing to the Pelegesh, and then he took her body, chopped it up to 12 pieces, sent it out to Klai Yisrael, said, look what they did to my Pelegesh. We want the men that did it, the men that violated, and they refused to give it. So they said, if you don't give us the men, we're going to go to war. Terrible, terrible tragedy in Klai Yisrael. They decimated Shevet Binyamin. There's hardly anybody left from Shevet Binyamin. And they needed women for the 600 men that were left of Shevet Binyamin. They had to get married. They were worried that they'll be wiped out. There won't be a Shevet Binyamin anymore. So, but they also promised, they swore that they'll never give their women to Shevet Binyamin. So you have a problem. Who are Shevet Binyamin going to marry? So they had an eitzah. Yosh ve'Yavesh. Yosh ve'Yavesh Gilad. There's a place called Yavesh Gilad. They made Klai Yisrael swore that whoever doesn't come to war with us against Binyamin, we're going to wipe them out. They found out the Yavesh Gilad, for some reason, didn't go to war. They wiped everybody out besides the women. Arba Me'os Narab Sula, 400 women. So 600 men got 400 women. Then they got another 200 for them. Says Gemara Ben Yadi. How did they know that they were never with a man? Omer Rav Kahana, this is the piece. Hoyshivim, this is my friend, the Apikoros friend that I have, loves this Gemara. Hoyshivim api achavis shel yain. They put them on a barrel of wine. Bu'ula reicha noidef. You could smell from her mouth if she's a bu'ula or not. Besula reicha noidef. There's a Gemara that says that it's some, I forgot, in Ksubas, I think, they came to Rabbi Gamliel, a guy got married, and he said his wife is not a psula. She said, I am a psula. So he took his 2 slaves, one was a bu'ula, one was a besula, and he put them both on a barrel of wine, and he tested this method out, and he figured it out. So Gemara says, why do you have to test it out on the shitlas? You should just take this one, put it on the barrel. So they say because he didn't know, he wasn't familiar with the method, he only got it in Messiah. So there's different ways to explain it. It's hard to explain al-pi science. You could say nishtanu atfayim, it worked in those days. You could say the Ben Yehoyada says, I didn't see it inside, but Tomer told me. The Ben Yehoyada says that yayin is soid, and what is it exactly? You want to tell me something like that? Berach like that. Different pshat and different things, but the heretics love this. Oh, it doesn't work. How could the Gemara doesn't know what it's talking about? Okay. Zog the Gemara. But we have another way, a better way, with the tzitz here on the screen. If there's a screen. So you only use the tzitz for good things. not to destroy. So how can we use the tzitz? We don't want to destroy Shevet Binyamin and Yavish Gilad, I mean. So, but what about Midian? How can we use the tzitz to kill Midian? So what's the obvious answer? Midian are good. I think we have to stop here, unfortunately. But boys, say, have a wonderful day. Have a great Shabbos. Yishkoyach guests for coming. What time is Motzei Shabbos in Israel? I haven't been here in a while. What time is Ma'ariv? Kids are 10:30. 10:30, share on Motzei Shabbos. 10:30 is too late?
Yes. 8:05.
8:05 Ma'ariv. Oh! All right, 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, share. A shvacha share, but 10 o'clock.